shedding 6 times.
What is going on YouTube? Welcome to I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. I'm your host Marques. As you guys already know, if you watch any of my videos, how's everybody doing tonight? This is the first legit live stream for the channel. I did do a 46-minute live stream when I first started doing this channel, etc. Just wanted to get something out there in terms of content for screen, etc. I just got back from watching a movie when I did that video, that live stream video. So it was just nothing really crazy or nothing, but this is the first legit live stream video for I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. If you haven't already, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated, as well as hit that comment section. I want to hear from you guys. You guys end up joining the stream a little bit late, whatever, I'll be on for a little bit. I want to have a little discussion about Scream 5, Scream 6, as well as Halloween Ends, and as well as my trip to Horror Hound movie weekend. I will be going to Horror Hound movie weekend this weekend starting tomorrow. It is going to be a fun time. We got the entire Scream 96 cast going to be there, from Skeet Ulrich, Nev Campbell, Jamie Kennedy, Matthew Lillard. It's going to be crazy. Dick Warlock's going to be there. Candyman, Tony Todd's going to be there. Kane Hodder's going to be there. There's a whole list of stars going to be at Horror Hound movie weekend, and I am so pumped and so excited because this is a big deal for me. Like this, I haven't been out of state in almost 20 years, really, like for a vacation, and I'm just really honored that I get to be a part of this because I'm a big fan of horror movies. I've been a big fan of the Scream movies, Halloween, and Michael Myers is my favorite character, etc. So like it's just going to be a great time. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. I'm pumped. If you can't tell, like I'm just so giddy and excited over this opportunity to go meet the stars and go hopefully get to meet Matthew Lillard, get an autograph, meet Nev, hopefully, get, I know they're going to have a Q&A, if I'm not mistaken, on Saturday. So that's going to be fun. I can't wait for that. But I want to get into it here. I want to talk a little bit about some Scream 5 and Scream 6 before I jump into Halloween Ends and before I go into Horror Hound movie weekend and what I expect from Horror Hound movie weekend. What I personally, want to see other than, seeing the Scream stars and Dick Warlock, etc. So I want to talk a little bit about Scream 5. Obviously, Scream 5 was, a big hit. Some Scream fans, traditional Scream fans, didn't really like it, didn't care for the ending, the whole toxic fandom. And I made a video saying that I think that ending was actually portrayed, excuse me, it was portrayed off of real life events, kind of like I said in the video. Go back and watch my video about it, that I believe Radio Silence and Spyglass took this ending from real life events, much like Wes Craven came up with the idea for Ghostface from real life events. There was actually, two guys who reenacted the Scream 96 opening kill on one of their classmates. And I think that's where Radio Silence got the idea for Scream 5 in terms of toxic fandom, that, a lot of people out there don't think, oh, fans, they don't resort to violence or nothing like that. And that's not really the case. There are some fans out here that really do get crazed over, these movies and stuff like that, and actually want to, be just like how the movie was. So I do think Radio Silence did. I don't have any confirmation on that, but in my opinion, I do think Radio Silence did come up with that ending from real life events, and as somewhat of an homage to what Wes Craven did to the original Scream 96. So I was impressed with Scream 5. I liked it. Obviously it wasn't a perfect movie by any stretch of the phase. I initially said I loved it, and it was, your first time watching it, you're happy that Ghostface is back. I personally, didn't I didn't really have too much of a problem with this movie, except for certain pieces of dialogue. And I'm going to talk about that dialogue, and especially when it comes from Sam's character. If you watched any of my videos, I haven't done a deep dive ominous into it yet. When I get back from Horror Hound Movie Weekend next week, I'm going to do a whole video about how I believe Stu and Sam are the masterminds in this whole new Scream trilogy, because I do believe we are getting a whole new Scream trilogy. Has been all but confirmed, but in terms of Sam's character in this movie, it really, like, they wanted to make her obviously the final girl, etc. But I just never got those vibes. Never got those vibes that Sam was the final girl type of girl. Nothing like that. Like, I just a lot of people were underwhelmed with Melissa Barrera's character, felt like her performance kind of went flat. Me personally, I liked her performance. I think her performance was this was personally done for her character to be this way. A lot of people reference to the scene in the hospital with Tara, how it just didn't feel authentic, her emotion, etc. And me personally, I think that that was done on purpose. I think that Sam, isn't meant to really have much emotion. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think she's meant to have the type of emotion going through what she's been through that we would expect her to have. And I think that's an interesting thing for this character, for the simple fact is that we now know that she's Billy Loomis's daughter. We know she goes through hallucinations. We know that, we also know there was a 5-year time gap where she left Woodsboro, and we also know that she was getting to a lot of trouble. When she found out that Billy was her dad, she was getting to a lot of trouble when Woodsboro started doing drugs, etc., etc. So I feel like Sam's character, what I mean, in this movie really just, a lot of people, like I said the performance felt flat. I feel like it was written for her to be this way. I feel like this character eventually we're gonna start to weed her out, that she's a lot more involved in this whole new trilogy than we think. I personally think that Sam is a mastermind. Like I said, next week I'm going to do my deep dive ominous, giving all the facts why I feel like Sam is no a mastermind in this new Scream trilogy. I don't think she's meant to be the final girl. I think her character is being written as such, to play mind games with us. But there's certain instances in this movie where things don't add up with Sam to me. And I'm going to give you guys a couple, reasons why, you know, here on the stream, but I'm not going to give all the reasons. We got a comment here in the comment section. Chris, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, her stoic D position made her way more intriguing. Yeah, I agree. I really agree with that. I am hooked on Sam's character. A lot of people are like, "Oh, we really didn't like her." You know what I mean? Me, I love this character. I think personally, if they are doing it the way I think they're doing it, they are setting up for like a perfect mastermind type killer. I I personally believe that she is involved in this whole new trilogy. I think what we're getting with this new Scream series is somewhat history repeating itself, in terms of we're getting an old storyline in a way, but in a fresh new insight. I think Sam has a lot to do with that. I mean, like I said, I'm going to give you a couple reasons why. Okay, so one of the big things that stood out to me about Sam was, okay, how did she know where? Yeah, Chris, right, with the new layer. Agreed. But one of the things that really stood out to me about Sam was, okay, you've been gone for 5 years from Woodsboro, haven't had contact much with your family, etc., whatever. So you come back to Woodsboro and all this stuff is happening, and you say, okay, I know who to go for help, an expert, and obviously it's Dewey. My issue with that is, okay, you knew where Dewey lived. You found where Dewey lived with no problem. No problem found out where Dewey lived, etc. But later on in the movie, when we get to the final act and she's in Stu Macher's house, it's portrayed as if she has no idea where she is. And I have a big problem with that, for the simple fact is, okay, you know who your father is, so you know who Stu Macher is. You know about the stab movies. You even hear about her referencing to the stab movies in the movie. And most of the dialogue in the Stab movies are a direct dialogue from Scream movies themselves. So in Scream 1 and Scream 1996, in the final act, when Cindy's in Dewey's police car trying to, radio in for help from the police, etc., she gives the address, Turner Lane. So I would like to think if Sam watched these Stab movies and the dialogue is exactly the same, you would know where Stu Macher's house is. On top of that, you know now about your father. So I would like to think you would also dig into every single detail about your father, including where he committed the murders. There's no way you lived in Wardsboro all your life and you don't know where Stu Macher lives. I have a big issue with that, but I think, like I said, that was written into her character for her to act clueless, to fuck with us. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like her character is here to fuck with us, and I love it. It's like, why does it seem to follow you instead of being the cause of it all? Exactly, exactly. I agree with that, Chris. And another thing, and another interesting piece of dialogue that I caught up on with Sam was that, this is a big thing. It's going to be like a saw switch. Ooh, uh, I don't know. I think it's a little bit more deeper than that. Like I said, I think we're getting kind of an old story. And okay, I'll get into it. I think, okay, like how the original Scream trilogy, we found out Cindy had a brother. We found out that he was the original reason why, Billy and Stu killed her mother, and all these, murders in Woodsboro started happening in the first place. There's been a long running theory before Scream 5 even came out that Sam was Cindy and Billy's kid. Because if you remember, Cindy lost her virginity that night in Stu's house. And there was a long running theory that if Sam is Cindy's daughter, that she gave her up for adoption, obviously not wanting that stigma on her hands, just not wanting that memory, even though, it's not the child's fault. She just doesn't want that, on her plate. And I think it makes perfect sense if they would go that route. And the reason why I say that is because I went on screamfandom.com, which is like the Wikipedia for Scream characters, etc., throughout the whole franchise, whatnot. And I found something interesting, and I made a video about this as well, is that in Cindy's father's biography, in his bio, and Cindy's dad's bio, it said something that about he possibly has 3, not 2, but 3 grandkids. And why that is so interesting is because, as we know, in Scream 5, we only got confirmation that Cindy only has 2 girls. So it's interesting that if on Neil Prescott's bio, it says he possibly has 3 grandkids, but Cindy is his only child. Who else could be that grandchild? If that is a legit thing that he possibly has 3 grandchildren. Think about it. Who else could be the third grandchild? It would make perfect sense for Samantha to be the third child. And which would explain why when she meets Cindy, she's kind of confrontational, etc. And it also, why would it would explain Cindy, I mean, yeah, it would also explain Cindy's in. This is the thing I caught with Cindy, and this is very important. Dewey, so far, I mean, maybe eventually it will be revealed that maybe Dewey knew more than what we thought, etc. Maybe they all knew more what we thought in terms of Sam's character, in terms of her being Bailey's daughter. But I found it interesting how Cindy knew that that was Sam's daughter, that was Billy's daughter, but Dewey didn't tell her. We didn't see it in any of the dialogue. Dewey did not tell her who Sam was. We didn't even get that in deleted scenes. And he didn't tell Gail, because when Sam meets Gail outside of Judy Hicks's house, You can tell Gail doesn't even know who she is. Like, so how did Cindy know who she was? Now, it could be bad writing, but I don't believe that. I believe this was purposely done. I believe this was purposely done to like, and if you really think about it, like if you really thought about it from this perspective, and also think about this, Cindy was way too cool with her. This is the daughter of the guy who killed your mother, the daughter of the guy who tried to kill you. And not only are you willing to help her, but you're so calm, cool, and collective with her. I found it interesting when Sam said, "Yeah, I'm Bailey's daughter. Sorry if that's weird for you." Cindy said, "No." Like, it was the way she said that, the way she said no really stuck to me. As if, like, I don't know, maybe some guilt there. Maybe that's why she is helping Sam. Guilt. She might not want to come out about it. Maybe, obviously, Sam doesn't know if Cindy was really her real mother. Sam obviously doesn't know yet, at least from Cindy's perspective. Maybe that might be a reason from Cindy's perspective why her character is going to keep getting worked back into the franchise. Because I feel like this: there's no reason why you're bringing Nev Campbell back if there's not for a purpose. You're not just going to keep having her come back to help Sam. And I say that because she's married. She has 2 kids. She has 2 kids. Like, why would she keep if let's just go with the premise Samantha is not her daughter. Period. We found that out that Samantha's not her daughter. Why would you want to keep coming out basically of retirement to help her fight off Ghostface if you're not the target? If you're not a target, why would you want to risk your life being away from your kids and your husband to help this girl? When obviously, if the killer's not calling you, coming after you, you obviously have nothing to do. You're not in their plans. To some degree, they were, she was in their plans in the 5th one. Well, I think honestly, to a lot of degree, obviously, but I feel like if you're trying to work away from, like, as if Cindy's role is like not really that important, she's just like being cast to come in and help Sam every single time. I can't buy that. I can't, and I can't buy Nev Campbell wanting to play that type of role every single time. Like, I don't think Nev would be down for that. I think the story would have to make sense, and I think it would have to be something that is going to strike a chord with the audience, that it's like, ooh, we didn't see that coming. We didn't see that. Maybe we saw it coming, but we didn't see it coming in that type of way. And I think it would be perfect. What did they do a good job in Scream 2 of always saying? History repeats itself. What did Scream 3 say? What did Randy say? Everything that you thought was true wasn't true. So what if, we think Sam is supposed to be the final girl and she's not? And what if she's involved in this whole new trilogy, this whole backstory of new killers? What if she's behind it with Stu Macher? Because I believe that. I believe that her and Stu Macher are working together. And listen, I understand there's a lot of people out there who are like, really? Stu is dead. He had a TV smashed on his head, etc., etc. Listen, I get it. It sounds crazy. But my thing is this: they never refer to Stu as being dead. They never, not in part 2, not in part 3, not in part 4, and especially not in part 5. They never refer to him as being dead. They never refer to him as being dead. Think about this dialogue from Dewey Riley. when Vince was killed, his nephew, we found out that guy who looked like Billy was his nephew, that kid in the bar who pulled the knife on Chad or whatever. We found out that obviously that's Stu's nephew. So Stu or whatever. See, I kind of lost train of thought for a second. But all right, so the dialogue. When Amber looks up who Vince is and who he's related to, and she says, that's Stu Macher's nephew. That's Stu Macher's nephew. He is connected to this or whatever. And Liv asks, who's Stu Macher? Dewey says, he's Billy Loomis's accomplice. A real nut job. Not he was. They never, ever referred to Stu as that way. They never referred to him as being dead. He was. They always referred to him in the present tense. And I find that so fascinating because keep in mind, yes, he got his TV dropped on his head. He did get electrocuted a little bit. But that doesn't really mean he died. We never really got confirmation that he died. We didn't. He is one of two killers, and I'll get to that here in a second on the second killer, but he is one of two killers. Well, if you count Jill, yeah, she didn't get shot in the head, so three. You know what I mean? And Charlie. But we're talking about like just how they really do set up the last kill. Usually they get shot in the head. Stu didn't get shot in the head. So, and there's just too many references, too many points that point to him being alive, in my opinion. And keep in mind, Wes Craven, well, even though Wes was kind of 50-50 on the idea, they was going to bring the Stu Macher character back in Scream 3 and have him be the mastermind behind a whole bunch of Ghostface killers who came after Cindy. And then he was going to be revealed, basically that he was, doing this from prison and then they broke him out, et cetera, et cetera. And the only reason why that story didn't, that script didn't go through is because Hollywood shut it down because of what happened with Columbine. So they completely scrapped that and had to go in a whole different direction, et cetera. But that's important because that comes to show you that Stu Macher could still be alive in this universe. And if they do it right, it would set up for a very, very triumphant and epic return. If they do it right. Obviously, they have to do it right. They can't fuck it up. But I think these guys are going to do it right. I think they're setting it up perfectly. And I just think like there's just certain pieces of dialogue. Like I said, this was not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't. But I think a lot of the dialogue that we are questioning is going to be flushed out in these later movies. And I think what we are getting with that whole, what I just mentioned about how Scream 3 was supposed to be Stu Macher running like a cult, coming after Cindy, like a whole bunch of ghost face killers that he recruited to attack her or try to kill her. Like it was supposed to be like, I want to say roughly 5 to 6 other ghost face trying to kill Cindy, that they had this idea, Kevin Williamson. So I think we're getting that, but just in installments. In installments. I do think that in Scream 6, we opened the door for possibly the first time three killers being revealed at once. I do have a high possibility that we could see that happen. And I am down for that because that would be so fresh and so different. But you have to make it right. You can't just. My thing is this. Now, these next killers kind of have to have a little bit more meaning. The motive has to be a little bit more personal, in my opinion. It can't be. You've done the toxic fandom thing. It worked, in my opinion, because it's believable. It's real. You can't go back to that. I want this to be a little bit more personal. But if you're going to make it personal, don't make it somebody who's obvious. Like, if we get Leslie Macher in this movie, Stu's sister, don't make her the killer. It's way too obvious. If we do get Tara's dad, if it turns out to be Blackmore, which is the working title for Scream 6, if we happen to get, and if that happens to be Tara's dad's last name, so let's just say that's Tara's dad's last name for now anyway. If we happen to get Blackmore, Tara's dad, don't make him the killer because he would be too obvious. You would have to make it somebody who's somewhat close to the circle to make it personal, but just set it up right. But don't make it too obvious. Because like I said, Stu's sister, if she is going to be in this movie, I wouldn't ever see her as a red herring, in my opinion. I'd always kind of see her as, okay, maybe she's behind it because she has clear fucking motive. Too easy of a motive, in my opinion. Her son just got killed and Stu's her fucking brother. That's enough to make, even if she's a sane mind, that's enough to make her go pop. You know what I mean? So, and the same with Tara's dad. I feel like if you would make him the Ghostface killer, oh, well, that was obvious. His motive is obviously he's pissed off because he was lied to all those years by Christina Carpenter about Sam being his daughter. So I kind of hope if they do bring those characters in, don't make them the Ghostface killers. Make it somebody else. Now, I will say this. Let's say if my theory is right that Sam and Stu are the masterminds, I don't want to see it until the third act. I don't want to see it until the third film. But what I would like to see is you set up certain little hints, certain little Easter eggs, little clues. And I would really like in this next Scream 6, in this Scream 6 movie coming up in March 31st, 2023, we got that release date. I would love, and even Melissa Barrera has been on record saying this, I would love for them to explore her dark side a little bit more, as well as let's reach into that 5-year time gap. I think that 5-year time gap, her being gone out of Woodsboro, is so pivotal to this whole new trilogy. Because she kind of pulled a Maureen Prescott when Maureen, what happened to her in Sunrise Studios, etc. She, she left Woodsboro to go to Sunrise Studios, then obviously left Sunrise Studios to go back. But when she initially left Woodsboro, nobody knew where she went. She vanished. So, all right, Chris, good night, buddy. You have a nice night. Oh, man. But I feel like that's kind of a little homage that people missed, in terms of that 5-year time gap with Samantha, that's kind of like Maureen Prescott-ish. Maureen Prescott, when she went to Hollywood, she left Woodsboro. Nobody knew where she went. She just vanished. That's kind of like Samantha Carpenter after, she turned 18. She just up and she vanished. I would love to see us kind of dig back into those 5 years. Where was she at? What was she doing? Who did she connect with? Because I think she connected with the one Stu Macher who's been locked up in a mental ward somewhere. And I think she got the old juices flowing to put this whole concoction together of a whole new movie. Remember, people, Billy and Stu's whole purpose, other than creating this whole murder spree, was to live into the sequels. That was their whole purpose, is to create their own movie and live into the sequels. It would not surprise me if these new masterminds, if it was, let's just go with the premise that it is Sam and Stu. It would not surprise me by any stretch of the imagination if they are trying to finish the deed that was done in the original, that wasn't done in the original Scream. We want to finish the movie. We want to finish what Billy and Stu started. But now, even more so from Stu's perspective, because Stu's the forgotten one. Nobody gives Stu credit. Nobody gives Stu no love. And it's fucking pathetic because without Stu, Dewey don't pull this off. He needed Stu every step of the way. He needed somebody like Stu who is that damn nutty and that down and that loyal to be like, yeah, bro, come on this with you. Let's carve some motherfuckers up. I think that personally, these two, it would make perfect sense. It would make perfect sense, especially if you do it in the last movie, if you do it in the trilogy. It would make perfect sense because that would be a nice little callback to the original series. It would be. And then let's just say if we do find out that Sam's whole real purpose? What if we find out that Christina Carpenter isn't Samantha's real mother? And the reason why let's just say Cindy was her real mom, right? And Cindy gave her up for adoption. And Christina Carpenter was so obsessed and so in love with Billy that she found out obviously about his love child and just wanted to have any piece of him that she could. So she just decided, I'm going to adopt his child and pass it as my own, whatever, etc. And what if, and one could say, oh, why would Tara's dad, up and leave then, because he thought that he was Samantha's, dad, this and this and that. Listen, we don't have 100% real reason exactly why he left. Who's to say he didn't know too about this whole thing? And when the gig was up, he said, fuck it, I'm out. We don't know. That's possible. That is possible. That is very possible. Because I want people to keep something in mind too. The synopsis of this movie, you can look it up on sites or whatever. The synopsis for Scream 5 was the town's dark past. Not just anyone's person's dark past, the town's dark past. What if multiple people knew about Sam being Billy and Cindy's daughter and basically covered it up? Just like one could say, oh, well, how come nobody talks about Stu if he really is alive? Stu's parents had money. What if they said, you know what? We don't want nobody knowing. We don't want nobody knowing that he's going to a mental facility. We'll pay you this much amount of dollars to seal the records. Keep in mind, people, especially if you have money, you can get records sealed. Public records can get sealed. If you throw enough money at the man, they will seal your shit. That's possible. So, I know it's a stretch, guys, but personally, I think that big piece of news in that screamfandom.com, and I believe that's a legit site. It seems legit to me. You know what I mean? I just find it interesting how it says Neil Prescott possibly has 3 grandkids, but yet only has 1 kid, and that 1 kid is Cindy Prescott, and they've only talked about 2 kids so far. They only mentioned 2. So I find that very interesting. And I hope we get further clarification on what I believe in Scream 6. Maybe, hey, like I said, maybe it was bad writing. You know what I mean? It could be. Maybe I'm just overlooking it. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I'm sticking to what I believe in my heart. I believe that Sam is the daughter of Cindy Prescott, and eventually we will find that out later. If they do it right, it could make for crazy. It would really make for a crazy homage, because basically, if that does happen to be true, then basically Cindy did what Maureen did to Roman. And I think that would be a pretty sick callback to the original trilogy if you do it the right way. Now, also what I want to see from Scream 6 is I find it interesting that it's being reported that Gail's going to have a bigger role. That Gail's going to have a bigger role. That I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I wonder what direction they're going with that, because at the end she said she wanted to write a book about Dewey and this and this and this and that. And I'm not saying she didn't do that or she isn't going to do that. But as we know, she also has a job to do, and also money can be very tempting. What if they threw enough money at her to write another book about the latest Woodsboro killings? And she decides, you know what, I'm just going to do it anyway. And it launches a whole new stab, reboot, requel, whatever you want to call it, etc. Like, we could get that. I think that's possible. I'm really interested because I want to know why Gail is like. I mean, could she be the new Dewey? I guess I don't know. I don't know how I feel about her being the new Dewey, so on per se. In my honest opinion, I think we're gonna get what they're gonna aim for outside of Cindy, but they're gonna make it look like this. I think that Gail's gonna die in 6, and that they're setting it up to look like all the OG3 characters will die, but in the third one, Cindy will live, in my opinion. I don't think they will ever kill Cindy. If they did that, I wouldn't be against it in terms of being different, but you would piss a lot of people off doing that. So I don't know. But I'm really interested in Gail's character now that they said she's going to have a big role. I'm interested to see what route she took, if she decided to write that book about Dewey, if she decided to, I'm going to just, write about these new Woodsboro killings. You know what I mean? If she changed her mind about doing it, because remember, she said at the end she wasn't going to. But like I said, money, money can change a lot of people's minds. And with the right book offer and with the right amount of zeros at the end of that check, Gail Weathers could be back in business. And we all know Gail loves the spotlight. We all know Gail loves the spotlight. So I would not be surprised if Gail, I would not be surprised if Gail in this movie kind of has a role like she did in Scream 2. I believe I believe she's gonna write another book about these Woodsboro killings. I do. That's my opinion. You know, I just I don't know. I don't know what else you can do with her other than, I mean, you write the book about Dewey Cool. Can you really see Gail Weathers' character being like the Dewey Riley character, like the rules, like kind of picking up where Randy left off, or just being anything like Dewey Riley at all? I personally can't. I can't get behind it. I hope they get different with her character. I hope they don't make her write another book about the Woodsboro killings. I would like to see her stick true to that. I will say that. I would like to see her stick true to her word that she's not going to write no more about the Woodsboro killings. I would like that. I think that would be something different because I think we would all but expect that she's going to go against her word and make the damn book or whatever, be part of the movie, whatever. Because I will say this in Scream 6, I do think we will see a stab requel in Scream 6. I do believe we will see a stab requel, whatever. I think they will do that or whatnot. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Gail. I personally, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I just can't see her being like a Dewey Riley type character. I just can't. I think that I hope they don't, like I said, I hope she keeps her word. Don't write the book about Richie and Amber. Don't do it. But I got a feeling they are going to do it. I feel like she's going to end up writing about these new Woodsboro murders. I just do. That's that's my opinion. Hell, I didn't even realize I didn't even set my banner up properly. I got my whole government out there. It's okay though. I'll change it to next live stream. But anyway, back into it. So, I mean, for Scream 6, also what I would like to see is I would like to see Hank Loomis return. I would love to see that. I would love to see Hank Loomis return it. I would love to see him and Samantha meet and see what that dialogue would be like. I would be on board for that all day. You know what I mean? And I think he's like I said in another video, in another I said it in a comment section of Craving Something Scary's live stream. He would be probably in his early to mid 60s, so you can definitely make it possible for Hank Loomis to return. I would like that. I would like to see the dialogue between him and Sam, how that would work out. I would also like to see Hank Loomis get killed because I think it's long overdue. Hell, I'm even on board for Hank Loomis to be the opening kill. Even if we don't get the dialogue between him and Sam, I would be on board for Hank to be the opening kill because then you would be setting a certain tone that I don't think a lot of people would expect. In all honesty, who would really expect Hank Loomis to be the opening kill? Nobody. So I would love that. Differentiate yourself. I would really like that. But all right, guys, we're gonna move on now to Halloween Ends. And I made a video. I did a first look video about a couple weeks ago about Halloween Ends, and I'm worried about this movie, guys. The whole radio tower thing. I really hope they don't try to make a motive for Michael Myers. That's the main thing I'm worried about is they're going to try to make a motive for why Michael Myers is Michael Myers, why he kills, and I don't want that. I felt like you laid such a good groundwork in Halloween Kills with the fact that he is who he is. Like Lonnie said, he kills, he goes home. Simple. We don't need a whole backdrop, a whole story, a whole lie as to why Michael Myers is the way he is. I don't need that. I don't want that. No moss for me. Let him be the killing machine he is. Now, I will say this. Do I think we will get some flashback scenes like because Jamie Lee Curtis says this is about legacy, this and this and this and that and stuff. And some of her stuff that she said that kind of makes me believe that we might be taking things back a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if we got some more Loomis flashbacks. Maybe some flashbacks to when Michael was younger in a sanitarium. I would be okay with that. Um, I just hope you don't go with this whole perspective that a damn radio tower is controlling Michael Myers. I would be so pissed off if that happened. I would. I might even just storm out the theater if that happens, honestly, because I don't know. No, that's just no good. No good whatsoever. So, what I want to see in this movie, I'll tell you guys what I want to see in Halloween Ends. I want to see more Loomis flashbacks. I want to see more sanitarium flashbacks when Michael was younger. Um, I want to see Allison's character development. I would really like if Allison is like how Lori was in 2018. I would really like that. I think Allison's character has to be the badass in this movie. In all honesty, it's all but it has to happen. Allison has to be the badass in Halloween Ends. She has to. I would love for her to take that role that Lori had, that Jamie Lee Curtis had in Halloween 2018. I think we see it in set photos. Lori looks a little settled down now. She looks a little calmer. Think that her and Frank Hawkins got engaged or married, whatever. Hair's all straight. She got a ring on her finger. Like she looks like she's civilized now. So I would like to see Andy Matichak, Allison, be more grunge house, more like more, I'm waiting for this motherfucker to come back and I'm gonna kill him. I would love that. I think that her character almost all but has to be that way. He killed your pops and he killed your mom. How else are you gonna act? You gonna still cry about it? No, you gotta be how your grandmom was in 2018. You got to be ready to go to war with this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So I would really love that for Allison's character to take that next step in her character development and her story arc. I would love for her to be somewhat batshit crazy. You know what I mean? Hell, I'll even go for if you sprinkle a little bit of Scout Taylor Compton trauma. How Scout Taylor Compton's Laurie Strode was in Halloween 2. How she was a little bit nutty. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a little bit of that from Allison. It's perfectly explainable. He killed your parents and your boyfriend. And your boyfriend. He done killed everybody that outside of your grandmom. He done killed everybody that meant everything to you. Why would she not be the new Lori? I hope that her character development takes that next step. I'm also interested to see what they're going to do with Lindsay in this movie. I'm so on it. Don't get me wrong. Kyle Richards is hot and all, but I don't know what they're going to do with her. I didn't like how they. The reason why I guess I'm so. It's not like I'm against her character. I just don't know what they're going to do because I just felt like you kind of shitted on her in Halloween Kills with how you fucked up her scene. Like everybody knows, like it was so weird. Like she was hiding from Michael in one scene, and then in the next scene when they find her, she's all muddied and it looks like Michael kind of attacked her but didn't kill her. Like it just didn't make sense. Like I don't know. Like I do think she's going to die in this movie, and I think it would make sense. I don't see why she would live, you know. So I think that would be I think she's a goner. Will Frank Hawken die? I don't know. I will say this. I think it is time for Michael Myers to die. Crucify me if you want to for saying that. Crucify me if you want to. I think it's time for Michael Myers to die. I do. I keep getting these vibes on these posters that might be the direction they're going to take. Now, obviously, they could be faking us out. You know what I mean? We know that. It could be a fake out for all we know. It's just a poster. But when you keep making posters with Michael basically dead, all right, so his face is burned off on one, like half is burning off on one. The one has a knife stabbed through his eye, and the other one has his head cut off on a slab. And then it keeps saying the tagline, his time has come. So that tells me and subliminally, you're telling me you're going to finally pull that trigger. Listen, I understand Mustafa Akkad never want, he wrote it in the contract. Michael Myers must never die. Listen, his son has it. What if his son just says, you know what? It's time to let this go. It's not impossible. No disrespect to my father's, wishes, etc. But it's time to let Michael Myers go and go in a different direction. Like, what else can you do? Like, what are we going to do? Have Michael look like he died again? And then 10 years later, he comes after Allison and she lives? I don't want that. This is called Halloween Ends for a reason. So I'm almost inclined to think they might actually pull that trigger. And I hope and I think if they were to pull that trigger, they would go back to the Halloween H2O scene where Lori took the axe and cut off his head. Now, I'm not saying she's going to use an axe this time or Allison. Allison could very well kill Michael. But I do think they would go off. I think it would be smart to go out and cut off his head. What is the most important thing of Michael Myers is the face. It's this, the mask. If you cut that off, what perfect way to end Halloween. That's how Halloween truly ends. You can't, there's no other way to kill him. What is he going to do? Walk around headless, trying to still kill people? It would make no sense. Obviously, you have to kill Michael Myers in this movie. You have to. You have to. You have to kill him in this movie. It's time. And then if you want to do other Halloween movies, maybe do something different. Maybe focus on a new villain. But I do think it's time for Michael Myers to be done. I hate to say that because he is my favorite. I love Michael Myers. I love the character. But I don't want to see him chasing Allison 10 years down the road. I just don't want to see that. I want this to stick to its tagline. What they chose for this title. Halloween ends. Halloween ends. That's what I want. It has to end. Michael Myers has to end. He has to. I hate to say it, but he has to. I mean, we don't have nothing else for him to do. Honestly. And I think if you are going to kill him, you go back to cutting his head off. Because what are you going to do? Sew his head back on? Cut his head off. I'm all for the H2O vibes. I'm all for the H2O vibes. I think that would be that's the perfect ending. That's how you end Halloween. There will be no more Michael Myers if you cut off his head. Simple and plain. Simple. Another another thing I'm interested to see about Halloween ends is is if it's the same sheriff. I wonder if we're gonna see Omar Dorsey back in this movie as the sheriff. I honestly don't think so. I don't think after how he let things get out of hand, I don't see how that guy keeps his job. Honestly, I honestly think they're going to have some. I have to look at the cast to see if maybe he is casted. But I would like to think after the job he did, which was piss poor to put it nicely, I would like to think that maybe they might want to go in a different direction as sheriff in Sheriff in Haddonfield. Who knows? Maybe we'll get Frank Hawkins as the sheriff in Haddonfield. Never know. Maybe he might have retired by now. We'll see. But it's going to be very interesting. Halloween Kills. Like I said, guys, I just hope they don't mess this up. I hope they don't give us a reason as to why Michael is the way he is. And I don't want Michael Myers to be controlled. I just don't. He's an unstoppable killing machine. He's a force of nature. That's what John Carpenter's initial plan was for Michael. This is why he never wanted to do a sequel, to keep that cliffhanger always out there from the original 78, that he just upped and walked away. The evil upped and walked away. So Halloween Kills is going to be very, very fascinating, you guys. Very, very fascinating. I just hope they don't use this radio tower as a reasoning. This is to what or why Michael is it's controlling him. If they were going that route, oh man, I think they would upset a lot of people. A lot of people. All right, guys, but I'm gonna wind it down here for this last couple minutes of the stream. I want to talk about Horror Hound movie weekend, as I stated. Tomorrow I will be going to Horror Hound movie weekend. As I said, Scream 96 cast is going to be. There's going to be so many people there. Like I said, Scream 96 cast. Tony Todd's going to be there at Horror Hound movie weekend. Even Ryan Hurst from Sons of Anarchy, who played Opie, is going to be there. Dick Warlock, Terrifier, the clown is going to be there. Tom Atkins from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is going to be there. Just a plethora of top-notch horror icons is going to be at this convention. I cannot wait. I am excited. I'm ready for this. You know what I mean? Like, I never thought that I would go to any one of these. You know what I mean? So I'm just really, really excited. And what I want to see, I hope I get to record in there. I'll have to look it up and see if we can record. What I really hope to do is record during the Q&A with the Screamcast. That's what I would love, to get some questions and answers and to get that recorded and put that on the channel. Because if I can record inside the convention, if they allow that and they allow it during the Q&As, I will record a video of the Q&A segment from the convention, and I will post it on the channel. I'm so excited for this. I'm ready to go. I'm so ready to go. All right, guys, I'm going to actually wrap it up for tonight. You know what I mean? Don't have too many people in the chat, which is okay. You know what I mean? It's cool and stuff. I do have an early morning ahead of me anyway. You know what I mean? Obviously, going to Horror Hound movie weekend. Got about an 8-hour drive coming from York, Pennsylvania to Sharonsville, Ohio. So if anybody comes across this stream that's going to Horror Hound movie on weekend, hit the comment section. Hopefully, we can link up. Hopefully, I can meet some of you guys out there. Be, you know, a great time. It's gonna be an incredible time. I cannot wait. I'm literally only 6-7 hours away from being up out of here. So I'm gonna end this stream a little bit early. But once again, guys, this is our Shot 'em 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. Be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. So also hit that notification icon to get all of this content updates to the channel. I'm your host, Marcus. I'm out of here for the night, guys, and I will catch you later. Like I said, hopefully I can be able to upload the Q&A segment from the convention. So if I do that, I will be having an update. I'll give an update on my Instagram channel, on Facebook, etc. So I will catch you guys later, and thank you for watching.